Ahoy! Ooh, I discovered. A little too sunny on this side. I discovered I gotta switch sides. Let's see if we can do this rather swiftly. Ooh, swiftly. This was the side I was on originally. Whose side are you on anyway? Whose side are you on? I don't know. It's not very good. You know me. I only worked as a production assistant for years. I should know all about lighting. Studied film. Still just terrible. That's all right. It's supposed to self-correct anyway. How's it going, everybody? I do a live show every single day from the streets of Los Angeles. That's right. I'm part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I discovered instant espresso. Oh my God. I'm so jacked right now. I'm gonna try to scoot down. Sorry guys. I thought it would correct itself a little bit. I'm gonna scoot down just a little bit down. Let's see what it looks like. I think that's a little bit better. Oh, not trying to get anybody on camera. So what are we talking about today? I always talk about my project, which is called Linoleum Blown Apart. It's a series that goes from punk into mainstream grunge. The band becomes the biggest band in the world. And then a mystery occurs. And then kids in the 90s discover this hit song, right? So I don't really think that, you know, something like, I don't know, any of these like grunge songs could really be turned into a hip-hop song, but I think that's going to be part of the charm of what we do with this series. I'm going to be working on this forever until it gets made, and I have little doubt that it will get made. Take a look at some of the things that are out. It's just really just the only thing that's out there that's mentally complex is the Marvel universe. Okay, and again, this is all social conditioning that's going on. I talked about what stoked the flames of George Floyd. I feel bad for him, his family, and everything that happened. But one of the things that stoked the flames was actually this neurological weapon that was being used on the woman, and they put it in the paper around the same time. This was completely by design, and what I just found out was that BlackRock took advantage of the 2008 financial crisis. I believe in one of those, my parents lost $50,000 of their investment. They worked very hard. They lost $50,000. Hey, my mom's a crossing guard. My dad's a UAW member. No big deal, right? They don't need the money. They worked really hard. They actually had to stay down in the old neighborhood, and they had to save up as much as they could in order to buy a house in a adjoining suburb. And you know, you guys know the story about my real life. When I went back to that adjoining suburb, I was actually really hurting a lot. I lived on the street like a real method actor, like a real embedded journalist, not like these phonies that you read about, and the phonies that gonzo journalists like Hunter S. Thompson realized that were out there, and he bested them with his writing, there is no doubt. So what this company BlackRock did, and what they do in Diaries of a Economic Hitman, this book has been read by people like Bill Burr. And again, if you're on one side of the divide or the other side of the divide, why don't you just go ahead and put on a beret and change your name to Shay? Because I think most of us walk what's known as the middle path. Okay, most of us are reasonable adults. Unfortunately, we're all susceptible to being duped. We're all susceptible to what I call media deep blue, where the media has basically turned into memes. That's what it is. It's memeomics. Is it memeonics? Hooked on memeonics? However you pronounce it. And that's really all it's come down to. Take a look at the sociopathy that was connected to this this Ocean Gate catastrophe. We're just all sitting around waiting for them to go ahead and die. I mean, it's really pretty sad. It seems to me like this rush, this spate of media deep blue that actually comes from your, more than likely, it comes from your social media site. These social media sites will be paid to play. Okay, you're gonna have to pay to be on these sites. Right? Now, more than likely, they're gonna want to collect data from you, so they'll let you be on the site, but you're not gonna be allowed to actually have a voice on these sites. And I'm talking about Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, it's already happening with Twitter. Again, I'm not on like Team Elon. Oh yeah, there's certain things I like about Elon Musk, and there's certain things that I really don't. But I think he accelerated what's going to come as far as social media is concerned. I think he was taking the mick out of Mark Zuckerberg for his virtual reality glasses. It was kind of funny. He's like, didn't they always tell you not to sit too close to the television? Right? So you got these virtual reality glasses on, and he's laughing about it because of Neuralink. Well, I know for a fact that a neurological weapon is used by either police departments, or I believe it's just regular police departments, or maybe somebody a little bit higher up. I'm not really sure. My wife was using it. She would use it to get us to leave my sister's. Instead of coming up to me and asking me, hey Gordon, you want to get going to avoid traffic? She would just hit this button, and it would cause me to basically lose my mind. And this kind of stuff, I believe it can actually fry your brain. But this weapon actually proves that we're already neuro-linked. And the fact that nobody else is talking about this except for me is quite stunning to me. I listen to a lot of, I'm YouTube exclusive. I have every right to be here. I have every right to tell my story. Because when I grew up, we appreciated stories from any person of any background, especially I was into music, so I'd like to hear about old musicians, go and listen to their music. A lot of that stuff came out on Folkways, okay? I loved all that stuff. I would read books about them. I would listen to their stories, listen to how they came up. This is all fascinating, and that's what I'm doing right now with my life. Okay, so if you want to name call, you want to call me a narcissist, maybe you need to change the channel. Maybe you need to go listen to somebody else, okay? Because we're all susceptible to being narcissists because we all care about what other people are seeing. They all say, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, that's the whole story behind Narcissus. He got obsessed with his own image. Right? We all know the story. But are they going to make it a medical determination? It seems like they are. Because when you look at the history of Freud and Jung, what they did was they were taking ancient mythology and they were taking the scribes, and what did they turn it into? They turned it into a medical determination. They called it psychiatry. Right? They call it psychotherapy. And that's what we're using here. Okay? And so this is cognitive therapy. It's when you talk about things, and by talking about these things, we're tapping into my personal subconscious. So I am the conduit, okay, for tapping into the collective unconscious. And I'm working in conjunction with what I call the Eggyverse, which is your natural algorithm, your natural AI, okay? And again, it's very tough when you know for a fact that you've been damaged by this neurological weapon. I know every single time that this weapon has been used on me. Every time. I remember everything. And what these guys do is they actually believe if you do a little bit of yay on the weekends, or, you know, you drink or something like that, he's out of it, dude, bro. He's Zoolander, dude, bro. Zoolander. Yeah. Yeah. Zoolander, huh? Like I said, I went out into the streets, and when I came back to Michigan in the '04 era, I was hurting. I have PTSD really bad. I slept out on the streets. I told you guys all about it. I write a little bit about it in my book, Two-Legged Animal. The story that I like the most is Weird Scenes Inside the Who's Gal. I just wrote it inside the jailhouse at one point. I think my writing is more concise. It's not overtly loquacious. I cut right to basically what I'm talking about. I think it fits in the zeitgeist of the times. You know, I always read other authors who were, you know, people like Bukowski and the Beats and people like this, and again, they thrust that type of quote-unquote literature to the fore, and then after that, it's up to us to kind of go off and figure out what authors we like and that type of thing. And I think it's a little bit dangerous with this AI because, like I said, I can see what you post, okay? But I can never see what the AI is delivering to you through your social media. Right? And that's the key. That's how they get you, right? You have absolutely no privacy whatsoever. But I guarantee these people who are going to community meetings and they're going to LARP a pride event are getting triggered by their device, and they're just buying into it. And you keep buying into it further and further and further. And I'm talking about people on the left and people on the right. When I watch Alex Stein and he goes to LARP a pride event, I'm sorry, but there's literally about 30 people at this thing. How is that representative of his community when it's basically 30 people at a pride event and he's going there to make a complete ass out of himself? Okay, I mean, it just doesn't really make any sense. I mean, we understand people do things for the hits and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm trying to do on my show is to try to talk about this accelerationist movement and discuss where are we going with this. They were using a neurological weapon on me, and I know every single time it was used, and I know the people who were there when it was being used. Okay, so this is no joke. And it crushes you, and it crushes your mind. And I told you before, these are all people with connections to the police department, so they can crush you. They can give you brain damage, like we all see Bam Margera, okay, walking around. What's the first thing that he does? He goes and talks to a girl of about 20, okay? It's stirring up. His mind is melting because of this tech, because they're coming through his device. And it's killing, it's probably somehow kicking up his estrogen levels or something like that, because that's who he's identifying with. Now, there's a person who was calling themselves Kevin at Criminal Class Press, just another phony who's connected to this, these people who set me up on a fake film shoot at Gasoline Alley in the '04 era, okay? And this was a police-sanctioned event. This is plainclothes police officers getting together, pooling their money in order to LARP somebody. That's pretty scary business, man. What are you going to do next? Throw a gun by where I sleep? I say, oh, the gun was right there. He's so dumb he dropped it. Right? This is the territory that you're getting into. And I don't know if you know this or not, but this is the territory of most cabals inside police departments. Okay, so now we've come out of that. People are talking about getting justice. Well, justice is arbitrary. What might be just to you is not just to the other person. But what are they talking about? What's the ESG? G is for green. S is for social conditioning. Sociology. And what's the E? Equanimity. And what this word means is that there's a price on your ass. That you're nothing more than an amount of money. That's what equanimity means. They're not calling for equality. That's what they used to call for. Back when I was young, you want equality for minorities, you want equality for women, you want equality for, you know, LGBT. Yeah, no problem. But I find it very strange that when I was coming up in the 1980s, there were tons of LGBT people. We all had somebody in our family or a close friend or someone we worked with, right? So, you know, that was like, I don't know, I can't do the maths. It was like 30 years ago, right? Going on 40 years ago now, right? And I talk about this in my book called Two-Legged Animal. That's right, my book is being suppressed, and I apparently have been and am still, I don't know, canceled, right? But take a look at the word equanimity, what they're doing. This comes from a bank, okay? And what they're getting ready to do is they set out the model for cryptocurrency, right? They set out the model for cryptocurrency, and it is going to be digital currency going forward. We know this, right? So anything digital can be manipulated. We already know it. People's cars can be hacked and manipulated. Your bank account is going to be hacked and manipulated. And I always wondered, if I sign up for an email, or you know, you sign up for whatever it is where you have to have a password, why do I have to always get a new password? What is the point of having these passwords when your company gets hacked, I have to change my password? Why? It's your company. You're the company. You should be protecting my information, right? But it just seems to me that they come up with these little steps, these little increments, as a way of like fear mongering, right? So I swear to God, instant espresso just saved my life. Right? So that's why I come on here and I talk about my project. My project is a television show, and this television show is really highly in depth. Now, I talk about scrolling on TikTok. Everybody's into TikTok videos. Why? Because our brains are working at a kinetic pace. And the only other films that I can liken this to, I don't really know. I guess Run Lola Run is one with kinetic editing. And again, we're editing, right? We're clicky, clicky, swipey, swipey, scrolly, scrolly, likey, likey, ing. That's what we're doing. Right? I don't want to watch this. Oh, this is stupid. This is dumb. Let me go to the next. Let me go to the next. Let me go to the next. Right? So this kinetic editing is allowing our brains to move a lot faster. I believe that we never really take full advantage of our abilities as thinkers. I talk about this a little bit in my project called We Are Martian. I still remember all of these projects, and look at what happened when I was thinking of developing my show and having it go into from grunge into rap, which most people around that time in history, right? You're talking about, I don't know what they are, Gen Z, Zoomers, and whoever's next, right? So these kids are born into hip hop, right? They're born into it. Like when I discovered it, it was 1982. And by 1984, I think Run DMC was out. And when I played at my, high school talent show, we did one punk rock song and we did like one rap song because we were just like wrapping our minds around it. Like, and this is 1984, guys. Right? And it was just so stimulating and so interesting and so fresh. And this is what I want to put into this property, okay? This is important because obviously I have to write about what I know, so I'm writing about basically my life, not Sid Barrett, not the kid from Nirvana. I'm writing about my life, and I'm taking an open notion like the 27 Club that started all the way back with the guy from Badfinger and Jimi Hendrix, right? Jim Morrison. Right? We started all this, right? Because it's already been there, right? And I'm going to incorporate that in my property. And this property is about me. And some of the names involved are names that are, right? Like the one guy whose father is a gangster, his name's Dino. Oh yeah, I remember your dad, or Dino, you're Dino's kid? Well, they can't believe that Max is Dino's kid because Dino is in his 80s, just like in the film Magnolia. Dino's in his 80s and his son is like in his 30s, right? So he had him, you know, obviously when he was in his 50s. And Dino, he's a big gangster, local gangster, owns restaurants. You know what these guys are like. They sink their money into legitimate businesses, right? And so, just stop. Guys, oh my God. I should show you, it's instant espresso. I feel so good right now. I feel so happy. Plus my EBT came through. I'm just really grateful for that. Yesterday I had a can of tuna fish and a small jar of artichoke hearts, and that was $8. It was $8. About. No, it was $5. And I had to get like something for dessert. It was like $8. So it was like a nice big can of tuna and artichoke hearts, and that's it. That's what I did for the 4th of July. Okay? I try to go to sleep at the same time every day because that creates what's known as a regimen. Okay? And what I do is I come on here and I like to talk about my many ideas. And I moved out to Los Angeles to get work, and I got work at 2 places in good faith. I got nothing but LARPed. I got laughed at. Apparently there's something that's on World Star Hip Hop or something. I don't know. If you show it to me, I'll laugh at it too, and I'll tell you all about it. I would tell you the story behind it because that's the kind of guy I am. But they started using this neurological weapon on me a long time ago, and police officers know about it. And what it does is it can make you do a lot of things. But what it does mostly is it scares the living shit out of you. Okay? It buckles you. And this frightening effect, this fight or flight mechanism kicks in, okay? And you might start yelling. I know that there's different settings that they can set it to. I know for a fact, because I felt different ways while they were using this weapon. I'm the only one talking about it, so please, put this show on your social media, share it. I'm not on social media anymore because I'm really worried that these same pieces of trash, who I know, and you can go back in my old episodes and you can get their names and you can contact these people. And I hope that you do. And see if you can get an honest response out of them, and I know you won't. There's one thing that I can do is I can pass a polygraph and I can pass any forensic test. I always knew that. And in case you don't know, I was molested. I was hit by a car and sent home with a swollen brain. I'm not saying I'm a victim, but I'm telling you what happened when I was a kid. And I was an alcoholic by the time I was 11. And when I went to go get help, one lady was gaslighting me. She was playing some weird sounds inside the place. They're trying to see if you'd recognize the sounds. And then the alleged doctor, who just basically writes prescriptions, he wrote up a bunch of nonsense on the paper, and they were having me turn it in, saying that I'm trying to kill people and all this stuff. And I ran back there and I said, "What are you doing?" I go, "I never said any of this." And I contacted immediately. I tried to go above his head through an email. This is what happened in the 04 era in Michigan. And I'm just trying to get help for the first time in my life because I knew a lot of crazy shit happened when I was a little kid. Oh yeah. They're like, "Fuck you, Gordon." Basically. This is in Michigan, guys. This is where I was born. And again, I could talk about this stuff. Why? The same reason I could talk about the slope-shouldered manatee of a fuddy-duddy. That's 7 years ago now. And I was with her the entire time, and I'm talking about a person I lived with in Queens, New York. And she was using this tech, and it fried my brain, and I thought for sure I was having an aneurysm. And people were gaslighting me. And this gaslighting and this targeting is part of cancel culture. And that's what I'm saying. Like, apparently, I've been canceled. Well, let me tell you something. You got to kill me. And when they do kill me, it's up to you guys who watch the show to figure out the mystery. What happened to this guy? Because I guarantee something. 40 years from now, everybody wants this immediacy. Oh, you could go online and you could make all this money. It's a lie. All of it is a lie. Can you make money? Yeah. You know how difficult it is? You know how hard it is to get your product to the top of any search engine? You know how difficult that is? It's nearly impossible, okay? But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to work in conjunction with my show, with all of you guys, to create ideas, to come up with stories, and that's what I do. I have numerous stories, and I'd like to be able to write all these out and put them online, but like I said, I ran into some serious technical difficulties. I've been nothing but honest. When I needed help, I asked you guys for help. Nobody came through. But again, right now, nobody has any money. And it doesn't seem like they're going to be giving American citizens any more money. They're going to give money to another country. And what they're doing over in the Ukraine is they're destroying all this NATO tech because they don't need NATO anymore. Okay? And I mean weaponry, tech and weaponry, that's where it comes from. They're destroying all of this weaponry, this old weaponry from NATO, because what are they doing? They're having BRIC. Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Okay, and then they have the Belt Road Initiative. And this is going to change the financial dynamic there. So what's the financial dynamic here? It's ESG. Okay, it's the Green Initiative, it's Sociological Initiative, which for me is kind of scary. I don't really like that. And it's equanimity. And equanimity is not equality. It just means how much you're worth. And when you take that in conjunction with the essential worker program, okay, it's going to mean that certain people aren't that essential. When you look at the decriminalization of drugs, and you look at the decriminalization of prostitution, which I'm all about, by the way, I'm about both of those things. And you look at what I'm not about is the theft up to $1,000, right? Because that's grand larceny. Okay, when you look at these three things that they decriminalized, they did it in states that are completely wired. They know who you are. They know what you stole from Lululemon. It doesn't matter what mask you have on. It doesn't matter, okay? They know who you are. They know that you're a thief, right? And now we're going into a morally tech future. Now, what I did is I took a vow. I changed my life. I got sober. I no longer commit any petty crimes or anything like that. I explored these themes because I wanted to go to jail so I could get some stories. And I wasn't afraid of going to jail. I didn't really care. I understood it. You hang out with the fellas. You play some cards, right? You can hear other guys' stories, listen to them talk about their lives, which is very interesting. Again, that's a chapter in my book. It's called Weird Scenes Inside the Who's Gal. I always like bastardizing titles of classic rock songs because from the age of 8 until 16, all I did was listen to classic rock. That's it. I loved it. I loved rock and roll, everything about it. Okay. And I also love instant espresso. I don't know how I missed it before. I was looking at the instant coffee aisle. They might have been sold out of it or something like that. And I finally discovered it. And it is about $2.50 an ounce. And I think I poured about quite a few ounces in here. No, I didn't, really. I don't know, we'll see how many it's gonna make. I'll let you guys know. I tell you how I eat. I tell you how I live. I talk about really important things on this show. I have been canceled. I get targeted on the ground with harassment. For the most part, because I'm not on Facebook and Instagram, they can't really hassle me too much online. Every once in a while they do. And by they, I mean the people involved in this. Like people who like doing this stuff. And then when you find out that it's people that you know, it gets into some pretty scary territory. And that's why when I went undercover on my last job, let me tell you something. If I owned a trucking company in Romulus, Michigan, I wouldn't be setting up some guy to bring drugs into the business. I sure wouldn't be doing that. So what makes you think that my antenna wasn't up when that was happening? Oh, that's right, I forgot. The big narrative from a bunch of phonies who live there is Zoolander, that's right. I'm about as dumb as a box of rocks and a bag of hammers that broke them, apparently. Okay, sayonara. You better hope I don't see you tomorrow. Because the last time I went up to that trucking company in Romulus, Michigan, that phony was reaching for his pistol. And his hand was shaking so bad I would have been able to take it from him. That's for goddamn sure. Make no mistake about it. All my stories are true and real. Unlike most people who smell like Frank's hot sauce and Clorox bleach rags that you heard 1,000,001 times. Bunch of people who couldn't say shit if they had a mouthful of it. They don't know shit from shoe polish. I tell them to go fuck themselves, but their dick isn't long enough to reach their own asshole. Etc., etc., etc. That's right. I come up with my own Miliusisms right here on this channel. I have the greatest untapped imagination to ever troll into town. When everybody else is fleeing and they're leaving Los Angeles, I came right here. My skill set's here, and I won't freeze to death if I have to sleep outside. And it looks like that's what I'm doing. I sleep in my car that was sabotaged through this running game. And I'm not worried about it, because you have to kill me. You have to kill me in order to shut me up. You have to kill me in order to get me to stop doing my show, which I never will. Okay? And I just, it was really tough. This tech, when they use it on you, you don't know what's happening. All right? But actually, now I do. I've got some clarity. I'm glad I went undercover. Because that's how I lived to begin with. That's how I wrote my book to begin with. But nobody's buying anybody's book. There is no money online. Nobody's getting all these hits. The game is rigged, guys. The game is rigged. And I just gotta say, I feel like $1,000,000. I feel great after drinking that espresso. Oh my God. It's amazing. I see a lot of classic rock t-shirts. They must be selling them somewhere for cheap. I think they sell them at Target and stuff like that. Relatively cheap. This is great music. This music is somewhat going into my project, right? Even Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses was in a punk band, right? A lot of people were. That's how you kind of start. And then you kind of move around. And that's what Linoleum Blown Apart is all about. I'm sure you've heard the story before, but right now, because our minds can work so fast, the kids are really inspired by this guy's films the way I was inspired by Stanley Kubrick. And that's part of the reason why I came here. Now, I'm trying to think, there's been so many parallels, guys. You have Asteroid City, where you have the female costume designer who worked with Kubrick all these years. There's so many of them. I should have wrote them down. I do an unproduced show. I do it extemporaneously off the top of my head. Okay? And I do it from a park in Los Angeles while I'm homeless. I developed this entire thing over this last year when I told the people at this trucking company they could go F themselves. Now, I didn't say that. They were like, sorry, they held on to my mail. It's all this passive-aggressive bullshit. And I said, all right, man, you don't want me working for you? Well, you should have never hired me in the first place. But this is what they do. They'll hire you, and then they'll railroad you. They'll haze you. That's why they have no bullying in school, because once you get out of school, life is nothing but bullying. Life is nothing but people being passive-aggressive towards you, people sabotaging you. I guess at one point they were calling them quote-unquote haters. I'm not sure what I have. I certainly don't have any money, okay? All I have are my ideas, and my ideas are superior to anybody's. I can actually pick up a guitar and I can actually write a song. Not many people can do this, okay? But the problem is not many people know that not many people can do that. Because they'll all say, well, I could do it. They'll lie. They'll bullshit. They'll sit there and say that they can do it, but the fact is they cannot, okay? It's definitely a skill, and it's a skill that I worked really hard to acquire. I don't know where I'm gonna go. This is like way too much sun over here. I guess I could go over here, right? Maybe not. That's like the worst place I could go. Let's go to this other one, this other bench right here. You guys okay? There's somebody watching. So I do exactly what I want within the means that I have to do it. So if I don't have the means to do something, obviously, I'd be living the life of Kenny Powers right now, if I could, right? We'd be living the life of Riley. We'd be living a much better life. That's what I thought I had with the person that I was living with, but it turns out they were a serial torturer. And maybe, I mean, again, like I said, it leaves you scrambling. It leaves you wondering, like, what did I ever do to you? Right? Like, and this person gaslit me for 7 years. And it was brutal, and I thought I was going to die. And they want you to die. That's what they want. They meaning people who use this neurological weapon. I never stop talking about it. I'll talk about it on every single show. I'm going to do a show every single day for you guys, and I'm going to talk about things. I try not to talk about too many media deep blue stories. I don't want to talk about things that everybody else is talking about, because most of that is all, you know, that's why I call it media deep blue. It's an untraceable story, okay? It's being forced through AI, and I believe it goes to some of these programmers. We have to look at how these AIs at these social media companies are set up. It's pretty simple stuff, right? And you're getting fed what's known as confirmation bias, right? And they're creating this kind of radical style of thinking. That's why I said, you know, what are you going to do? Put on a beret and change your name to Shay? Right? Why are people acting out like this? Why do people have this derangement syndrome? Well, we know that it comes from being neurologically tied in to your device. It's as simple as that. And I think right here on this show, we've got them sussed. We've got them figured out, man. That's what's happening. And I'm the only person talking about this, right? And again, I can't go on Facebook and I can't go on Instagram because they were using it, they meaning those involved, and I know some of them by name, they were using it as a neurological weapon. And I'm not so sure if they were doing that in order to get me canceled. I don't know. I have no idea. But this whole notion of being quote-unquote canceled is rather ridiculous. Like, everybody actually believes that there's money involved in being online. And I'm here to tell you something. There's nobody over here. I can't believe it. It's a beautiful park. It's a beautiful day. I love living in Los Angeles. I tried living here numerous times before, and, you know, just I guess moving here with my stripper girlfriend in the double odds was a very good idea. But I talk about a lot of things on this show. I talk about my real life, and I'd like to actually to continue working on Linoleum Blown Apart. And this is what I'm trying to talk to you guys about today. I feel so great, guys. I feel so good. I found instant espresso. It's just, oh my God. So, because in case you don't know, I'm completely out of money. I have to actually go get a job. I'll get a job in fast food. I would work at McDonald's. But the thing is, you guys have to understand something. You actually have to have a bank account and a phone and everything locked in now. You see this? And so I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's Fahrenheit 451, where all the professors have to like leave town and go live in the woods somewhere, kind of like Kaczynski, remember? Right? And again, I'm not saying I'm pro Kaczynski or anything like that. I don't really care about stuff like that, but it is reminiscent of that. I believe that a lot of people come out with things in books because they're actually tapped into the same kind of idea. And when you start speculating about what's going to happen in the future, there's only a couple different ways you could really go. There's only a couple guesses you can make at where we're going with this. I'm the only person talking about this neurological tie-in to your device, right? I'm the only one talking about it. And people that I knew were convinced that I was going to self-harm and that I was going to die. And they wanted it. They wanted me to die. Like, wow, dude. And you think I'm going to be your friend on, I don't care if it's Facebook or wherever it is, or especially in real life? Yeah, I don't think so. Like I said, I've done more with my life, and now none of this stuff might even come out. I might be just talking to the wind and nothing might ever happen, but I guarantee 40 years from now, they're going to say, wow, interesting. So this guy wrote all these punk songs, every single one of them, without the help of anybody, and I'll triple down on that. He actually went out and he was a small-time actor without knowing anybody or having any connections. He actually wrote a book, and then he lived out on the street after he was being attacked by a neurological weapon, which they'll be able to prove in 40 years. I'm talking about long after I die. Yeah, that's right. That's who the fuck I am. I'm not an animal. I wrote a book called Two-Legged Animal. It's a little something called irony. Okay? And I don't believe we are animals. And I believe it's dangerous to think of people as nothing but animals. Okay, we are mammals. We are mammals, but we're not chattel. And this whole notion of equanimity is you're reducing a person to an amount of money. And this also goes with the caste system that is what? The essential worker program. Are you essential? And again, don't forget, if you're participating in these petty crimes, they know exactly what you're stealing. They know what you're doing. I call it the panopticon. I love coming to the park, man. I love people watching. I love dog watching. Yeah, I love animal watching, people watching. Humanimals. Okay. We are more than just this. And not enough people are really talking about these things that I like to talk about on my show. Most of them come on their shows and they scroll Twitter and they talk about whatever superficial story comes out in the day. And you can see that what's known as alt media is taking the same perspective as the mainstream media. So what's the point of watching alt media? What's the point of watching it? I mean, I talk about Howard Stern in my book, and I look at human failures, like people like Shuley still putting down Stuttering John. Like, who is watching this? Who is listening to this, and who cares? I understand they have an audience, but you're talking about 30 years of the same joke. That's like the that's what she said joke. Okay? With my show, you're getting a completely different perspective. Okay? And then you have these people like, what's his name? Brendan Schwab, right? He's an MMA guy. He's a mixed martial arts guy, right? And all of a sudden they tell him, well, why don't you start doing stand-up? They're like, what? All of a sudden a mixed martial arts guy, just because he has a podcast, all of a sudden he can do stand-up now? He gets up there, he gets an entire Netflix special. But what's so great about the internet is people are just really, they're being able to see through this superficiality, right? They're being able to see like, wow, this person really actually doesn't have very much talent at all. Like, what is this? It's a big popularity contest. And one of the greatest things that I saw recently was the female musician from a band called Gutter Boy. Now, I always remember Gutter Boy. Now, I was working really hard in the grievance committee. You could listen to those songs. They're in the playlist under Linoleum Blown Apart. Please check them out. I was talking about Billy Joe Armstrong and people like that yesterday. But there was a band, Green Day wasn't really out. I don't know when it came out, or I don't know where I was. I would have to do a timeline. And that's why I made the mistake of thinking that people I used to work at Harmony House were actually my friends. Don't worry, it won't happen again. So there was a band called Gutter Boy, and I always remember Gutter Boy because Dito Montiel became a film director. And so I watched this thing about Gutter Boy, and the female who was in Gutter Boy, she's trans, and she has a recording studio. I mean, like, she either comes from money or she got one hell of an inheritance, or she sure as hell didn't make the money off Gutter Boy because nobody listened to the band. They got to open up for the Ramones. They opened up for every single band. They were on Epic Records, and actually they were on Geffen too. They got a bunch of money from Epic. They said they never did anything with it. They just took the money, spent it on drugs, and spent it on equipment, just blew it. Then they got another deal. Do you see this nepotism, nepo baby, or right? And then all of a sudden, Dito Montiel. I love Dito Montiel's films, actually. I really do. I really like him. I urge you to check him out. He has his own style. He was one of the first people to use, who's that actor? Everybody loves him now. The Magic Mike guy or whatever. Everybody loves that guy now. But, whatever that was. So, right? And I always wanted to know, like, what happened with this band Gutter Boy. Because I remember looking at their album, and I no offense, but I know music, and I can tell you right now, none of their songs had a hook. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. Did you guys hear that? I love it. They have these exotic parrots that fly around too. They just squawk. That's like really like sounds like bloody murder. I told you guys when I lived by Wayne Newton, he had these birds out there, and these birds like made sounds like somebody was getting murdered. And I think they do that in case you go on his property and he can murder you. And you can scream for help all you want, but oh, sorry, officer, it was the birds last night. I'll try to quiet them down. I'll feed them a little bit more. Oh yeah, this is the kind of thinking that I have. I get into all that old mob stuff, and I get into all the old crooners and stuff like that. And I was talking a little bit about my project called Linoleum Blown Apart. It is very complex. It would read better as a novel. I will write the novelization to this. You guys will see it. And I have a feeling you're going to see it actually get made into a television series. Okay? Because it's going to have so much involved in it. It's going to have music, right? And it's going to have these narratives. And you're going to have Lenny from Linoleum Blown Apart. You're going to have Walter, who makes these films and goes on these fantastic journeys through seedy, gritty downtown LA. It's not like the film Babylon, where you have a bunch of spoiled actors. Oh my God, what are they portraying? They're portraying a bunch of spoiled actors. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. I don't know how stuff like that gets made. It's really just self-indulgent. But what I have here is something a little bit different. And I think that is really truly the key, because like I said, we'll have 7 different directors actually directing 7 different films, and they're all from 7 different genres. And right now we're talking about the sci-fi film. Okay, so you have to understand that while he's hanging out with Jeremy Cloud goes away. He does 2 films with him, and they're really kind of, one is a sex romp, and it's a 1960s sex romp, right? His next film is going to be called Scorpius XL. I already told you about that. And how he creates this narrative, more than likely, will be like through, he comes home, Walter comes home, the filmmaker, and he sees his wife is like reading all these sci-fi books. And again, you have to have the wife as an influence on him. And don't forget, her friends from the theater in the fascist country, they also came over, and they're LGBT couple. Because in the arts and entertainment, you always had this. That's why I can't really wrap my mind around why people are feeling so vitriolic about people in our community. They're showing less humanity and less compassion, when in reality you're supposed to be showing more humanity and more compassion, aren't you? Because we have our device right here, and we can like we can use our device. You can use it for good, or you can use it for evil, just like the Force, apparently, right? Where you could check in and see what's going on in other countries and stuff like that. But it's a little bit dangerous. I'm the only one who's talking about the danger of the AI, right? The danger of the AI bot. That's giving you confirmation bias. That's stimulating your neurological system. That's going to cause you to maybe act out in a way that you probably wouldn't. So that's why when I came here, I knew that I was going to write fiction, because you could take a look at my fiction. My fiction I started writing back when I lived with my wife. I call her Slopey. She's the slope-shouldered manatee of a fuddy-duddy. She was completely spun. I'm a weekend warrior guy. I don't mind blowing my face out, going out with some friends, getting wasted, waking up the next day feeling hungover, right? And knowing that, hey, I just blew my face out. It only happens once a month. It's no big deal. Right? It's a problem if you behave like that every single day. And I'm telling you, if you are, you're being tracked and traced. I'm letting you know that we might be mammals, but we certainly are not animals. And I'm also letting you know that I'll be talking about Scorpius XL all week this week. That's what you guys come here for. You come here for my ideas. And the 2 films, the 2 narratives for films, Brother and Thug Wife, are going to go in this property of Linoleum Blown Apart. I actually created this right here on this show. I created this narrative on this show. And right now, I do hour-long episodes, okay? And I love people watching. I already told you that. And I love the fact that my EBT came through. I could actually get some food today. I usually eat food out of a can. It's cheaper. I showed you guys right here on this channel and my other channel, Fallen Angelinos, how I was going to be able to live off my EBT without stealing, without committing any crimes. And I was going to live like this until I could get hired by people who actually understand and respect what I'm doing. You don't have to respect me as a person. I'm not looking for respect. Respect is earned. It takes a long time. But you have to respect the process. And you have to respect what I'm willing to do to see this project through. And I will be here every single day yapping about it. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.